Hello and welcome to the vendor event. And we have here Ashley with us from Hurst Review Services. Ashley, it's up to you.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you guys so much for having us and thank you for attending. My name is Ashley Griffin. I am the curriculum and faculty liaison and a faculty expert at Hurst Review. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 17 years. I've been with Hurst Review for 12 years. And I love what we do at Hurst Review because our goal is to make sure that we are partnering with schools and hospital systems to make sure that our students and our new hires and employees as nurses are going to be the safest that they can be, that they have safety and success. So we don't want to just help them pass the NCLEX the first time. We want to go beyond that. We really truly want them to earn their license and keep their license for their entire career. And so I'm going to share my screen if that is all right with everyone. I'm going to go to the Hearst Review website. And I'm going to take you into a student account. So that way you can see what the students get. You can see how they work through everything and all the wonderful resources that they have access to. All right, and so with our students, we teach both RN and PN students. And whenever they sign up for the Hearst Review or their school or hospital system registers them, they will get the review that is appropriate to the degree and the licensure that they are going for. And so I do have the RN view pulled up, but I will mention how the PN view is different. So first, no matter which version or option of the review is chosen, all students get an online account. And so if they go with the in-person live review, they still get an online account. If they do in-stream, which is virtual live, they get an online account. And this is because we need a place to house their questions. We need an environment for them to go in to take their readiness exams. We also need to give them the opportunity to watch or rewatch any content videos that they need access to. So let's talk about what's included in the online account because again, no matter which option of the review is chosen, all students receive this online account. All right, so first, every student gets a Q bank. And in this Q bank, this is customizable. It's basically a playground where students go in, they customize and make their own practice exams. For our RN students, there are over 2,000 practice questions in this environment. For our PN or VN students, there are over 1,900 questions in this environment, and we are constantly adding questions to this playground. Now, they're going to have access to all the different types of questions that they could see. And so, any question type possibility that appears on the NCLEX, they do have practice with that. Now, because this is customizable, they can set this up to where they're just doing a case study. It will give them a 6-question case study when they do that. There's nothing for them to select. But then when they choose standalone, they get to customize this. So I'm going to click on your quizzes. I'll show you a quiz that I previously started. So far, I'm doing a great job on this quiz. It is from the category of management of care. It is a 25-question quiz from that category. I have it set up in flashcard mode, which gives me my answers and rationales as I go. And I've only taken one question, but so far out of the one question I have taken, I got it right. So my score so far is 100%. Now, I can't promise what's going to happen after this because I am not going to actually read this question and attempt to answer it, with my knowledge and skills. I'm just going to click some things to be able to show you. But this is the background in the screen that they will see. They have their question here. It keeps up with their question count in the other corner. And they have this optional feature where they can tell our system, how confident are you when you answer this? This is going to do multiple things. This is going to track how many times they thought they were confident or they were confident, but they did not get this answer right. Or how many times did they lack confidence and they rocked it? They got all the credit or they got a great amount of partial credit. So this will keep up with that information because students can really use that to get better with their questions. It also helps with that testing anxiety and the confidence that we need to build to help fight test anxiety. So I've randomly picked a few answers here. I'm going to click next. And oh no. Okay, so I did not get any partial credit here, but I love this system because we know with the NCSBN and the NCLEX, they do award partial credit for select all that apply for the clinical judgment standalones and the case study questions. Well, because I picked something correct, but then I turned around and I picked two incorrect answers, it took away any potential partial credit that I would have received from that correct answer. And I love telling students that because they have a misconception with the partial credit scoring system that they just automatically get partial credit. Like if I get something right, they're going to give me partial credit for that. And we know that that's not the way that that works. So this system really shows them that. I only spent a minute on this question, but I really didn't because I spent that minute talking to you. So this is a really good way for them to say, maybe I need to slow down. Maybe I need to speed up. Now, with every question, we have rationales that are very easy to read. There's not pages upon pages of scrolling for these rationales. And for the students that are auditory that would rather listen to this rationale, they can. They would just click play to listen to this. They also have a flashcard. So if they're a note taker, especially if they love flashcards, this is one that would have helped. This one is all about UAPs, scope of practice for UAPs, and what do I need to know about that? If this was something that I was not, familiar with, or I only knew a little bit, I could save this QR code, or sorry, save this cue card and go back and play a game with these cards. We know that a lot of our students, they love gamification, especially in this generation. They love anything that can be turned into a game where they can, have some instant feedback from that, and they can go and play a game with these. And then there is a study connection to every question in the Q bank. And with these study connections, they have testing strategies that are very easy to read. But my personal favorite thing is that we have at least one video and one document that will be tied into every question. So if they didn't really understand this, this is a management of care question, of course, and there is a management of care video. And not a whole video that they would have to watch to help them understand this, but a section of a video. And so when they click on this, it will bring up this section of management of care. This is one of our faculty members. Her name is Eleni. She is from minute 7 to 13 talking about what would have helped them in this section of video to help them answer that question better. All right, and there's also, again, a document, at least one, that matches every question here. Students really love this because they get that confidence again, start building that confidence that they need. Again, over 2,000 questions for RN, over 1,900 for PN and VN. Right, the other resource that our students have is called the resource library. This is a place where students can go and get more information based on their individual needs. Now, what we know is that all of your students have different needs. And some of them need more help with farm, while some of them need more help with infection control guidelines. Some need ABG practice, some need more help with delegation. All of that is going to be different, but we do know the most common struggle points for students. I'm going to use pharmacology as our example today. When I click on the pharmacology folder, we have pharmacology broken off by body system. So let's say that we've got a student that knows that they have been struggling with their endocrine medications. They're going to click on endocrine. These are PDF documents that will download to their device. Once they click on that, it opens up, and they are able to view these not only by body system, by category, by the medication class. And that's going to be really important because we teach them the NCLEX is not saying you have to know 44,000 drugs. There's no way that that's going to happen. Even experienced nurses, we use Davis drug guides or some type of drug guide or drug information when we get a drug that we have never heard of before or a drug that we do not commonly give and we need to look up information about it. For the NCLEX, students have to know a certain amount of information about the medications that we give. So we have given them these drugs, again, by body system and drug class, the most important information to know about the entire class and some of the most popular drugs in that class on one sheet of paper. Students love this because it does help them, kind of help with their study strategies for pharmacology, because we know that that's one of those topics that can be very daunting for our students. All right, if it's not pharmacology, they can go back into this environment and find whichever document would help them the best. All right, our students have access to video content. Now, the way that they get this is going to be different based on the type of review that is chosen. if a student wants to partake in a live in-person review. And what we ask for that is that the school or the hospital system be able to guarantee at least 20 students participating in that in-person live review. That is where we will send one of our faculty members to your location to be with your students for 2 or 3 days. 2 is for the PN and the VN review, 3 is for the RN review. And we will teach them the content that they need to know in a live format. Well, we also have online versions, which of course, where the students can, at their own pace, go through this content. And then we have a virtual live option called InStream. We will be in our studios here, and your students will be either on campus, at the hospital, in an education classroom, or they will be at home, following along at their own pace with their computer. But the only difference is that they do have to log in at specific times to be with us for a portion of this content. So we will set those dates and times up. There's no number of students or new hires that we have to make that review happen. You can have one, you can have 100, however many you have, we can make that option work. All right, and so again, no matter which option of the review they choose, they do get the videos to go back and watch. These videos are very interactive. They are heavy question based. They're heavy content based. But the way that we're going to make this different from nursing school is that we're not repeating what they learned in nursing school verbatim. We are taking the content and we are flipping it to talk about how it relates to safety, because this is what the NCLEX is all about. How do we know this content the safety related way? How do we answer questions about this content the safety related way? That's the way that we're going to teach them. All right, and so I'll use core as our example. Let's look at the endocrine system, since that was one of the sections I pulled up for the meds. We have these videos broken into smaller page numbers. There is a workbook that corresponds with our review. And when students take the review, they do receive the Hurst Review workbook to go along with it. They're going to watch these sections of videos, filling in the workbook as they go. But if they are participating in the in-stream or in the in-person live version of the review, then the teacher is teaching this content live and the student is filling in that workbook as they go. We've broken this down into smaller sections, and we do incorporate medically and socially appropriate humor into our review. And so where it is appropriate to laugh and have fun and try to commit some things to memory through humor, we do that. And so students have that ability to. Now, if you'll notice that these sections are broken again into smaller bits, this video is only 18 minutes long. And the reason why we've done that is because we know sometimes students just don't have the time to sit there and watch 3 hours or 2 hours worth of content or more all at once. But for students who are participating in a live version of our review, those class times are usually scheduled from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. your time. Okay, so we'll shift and adjust based on whatever time zone we're in. And so we do ask that we have that length of time, but we do give our students multiple breaks. And that is just because we want to maximize the 2 or 3 days that we are there with them. But if they are doing the online version where they are following along at their own pace, they've got an 18-minute video here just in case they don't have a lengthy amount of time to sit there and watch a bunch of videos at once. They can still get some completion. All right, they have all of these videos at their disposal. Again, we're going over tons of content. The core content is the med-surg and adult health style content all nurses have to know in order to practice safely. Specialty is specialty, mental health, management of care, pediatrics, so forth and so on. And so they do have all of these videos. All right, they also have their readiness exams. What we've got to do is at some point, we have got to shift from review and practice, and we've got to shift into simulation. Like we've got to simulate the NCLEX. We will do this a total of 4 times. They have 4 exams. They appear one at a time. There are 85 questions in each of these exams. They cannot repeat these exams. They can take them one time, but they can always review the rationales. They get a set of instructions first before they start. They will click start. I've shown this to multiple people before, so my test is not going to start at question number 1. but theirs would. I am in the middle of a case study here, but do you notice how the practice environment QBank and the readiness exam screen look just alike? The only difference is that we've got our timer running up here in the corner, and that is just to help students understand that, of course, the NCLEX is timed. And we want to make sure that we are timing them in some fashion so that way they get used to that. But I have to answer all of the questions in this test before I can move, before I can see any feedback. So they do not get that immediate feedback and rationale. They have to take the whole test first. We want our students to score a 62% or higher on each of these exams, or as an average across all four exams. We also will give them terminology scoring, meaning that for each client need category and every step of the clinical judgment measurement model, we will tell them how many questions came from that and how many did they get right. How much partial credit did they receive if it applies? And then in total, is that above, near, or below the passing standard? Anywhere that they have below or near, we know that that's a place for them to go back and spend more time in remediation, in that practice Q bank, in their video content, in the resources, looking over their workbook. Anywhere where they are above the passing standard is exactly where they should be. And so even if they score 70 on the first test, anywhere where it reads near or below is an awesome place for them to go back and just increase their skills and increase their confidence. Now, they do not have to do this on their own. And this is another thing that I really love. We have an AI generated system. We call ours Hallie. And what Hallie will do is help with the insights portion. So Hallie will analyze their readiness exam. It will also go back and look at any QBank questions that they've answered. And based on their scoring and their performance, Hallie will give them some suggestions. Hallie will say something like, based on your performance, we see that these are your three areas of most concern. Based on this, would you like me to create you a test from each of these categories? And all the student has to do is say yes or no. And then Hallie will also say, based on your previous performance, these are your areas where you have done the best. We recommend that you spend less time in these areas and more time in the areas of most concern. And so they do not have to analyze their own results. The system will help them do that. So that way they know they're doing it the right way. Now, all of your students and all of your new hires absolutely have contact support. So we have an ability for them to contact us directly through their account. They can do that by clicking the support tab. And when students need more than just our review resources, they can always add Elevate, which is called our study companion, where we give them additional questions, additional scenarios, and additional help. And we also have case study only questions, which is called our Hurst Next product. Really good for your first and second semester nursing students who want to start practicing those case studies and learning some content that way. And we also have an asset-based essentials course. Again, really good for the first and second semester student who's not quite ready for the NCLEX. And so we have a product really for any level of student, but of course, really truly honing in and focusing on the student that is prepping for the NCLEX. All right, we also have resources available to our faculty members. You have your own dashboard where you can track and understand your students' progress. You also get those AI generated results and AI generated insights. So that way you can not only see how your students are doing individually, you can see how they're doing as a class or a cohort. You can also see how they are doing compared nationally to other students that are taking the Hurst Review. And the other wonderful thing is that you can use this to help your students. When you have a student that's falling behind or is scoring consistently below, then that is a place where you can always email that student. You can set up quizzes for that student and email them those directly through your dashboard, and it will pop up in their dashboard. So that way they don't have to create anything. So you can use the AI generated insights as much as you would like to be able to help your students, or as little. And so I love the fact that you're able to be as hands-on or as hands-off with your students and their progress as you would like. All right, I hope that this has been a very concise but helpful overview of what Hearst Review offers. And just to let you know about pricing, we do use a tiered system for our pricing. It is based on the option of the review that is chosen and how many graduates or how many students would be utilizing the Hearst Review within a calendar year. And so Ken Moiseev is going to be your point of contact. I will put his information in the chat so that way everybody can have access to that. But I'm going to stop my share so that way um, you can ask any questions